hurting me, kitty. Okay, might as well explain a few things about like pixel art while I'm doing pixel art. I don't think I've ever done this before. I've explained a lot of my process in tutorials back in the old times of the internet and long-winded pixelation forum threads and so on. But sometimes I think it's the best way to teach. That's a bit presumptuous, but the best way to explain process by people that have been doing this for a long time is as you go, as you deal with the clusters, as the problems occur in the picture. I might start going like or why? Why am I reducing a shape? Why am I adding to a shape? What's the rationale behind my choices? So this is a knight from an Amiga game called Moonstone, for which I have tremendous kind of nostalgic and it has a tremendous nostalgic appeal to me. So the first thing we're going to do to it is, because this is an Amiga screenshot, it's difficult to get sprite rips, is remove the background, which is tedious work, but why not? There are many ways to do this. I could just do this, for example, just capture the index and copy paste it over another index, and now that index is gone across the whole screen. I don't think it reuses anything with the sprite, so I guess we can do that. It's easier. Cleanup is a kind of a Zen process in itself when you need to extract something or reduce it to parts. If you're working for, I guess this is a good place to start. Why am I doing this with alt art? There's a few different reasons. Before pixel art was kind of a codified medium, people just did whatever felt. I think there's a back to this. They did whatever felt right. No, this is that's interesting. It should be though. It should be the back of his club. People just did whatever they looked good on their monitors, and therefore, if I sit down and start to pixel something new by myself, I will use the technique and the mindset that I have now. It's difficult to make the mistakes and then fix them. So to keep sharp and to keep learning, because pixel art is a medium where you can really never stop learning. You learn from the past. You deal with the troubles that the artist had at the time trying to convey a picture in the means that they had, and then you try to use as much as possible the same means that they had, which means I'm going to be altering the palette initially a lot, or altering the design of the sprite significantly, hopefully. I'm just going to try to solve the same problems he was trying to solve and kind of teach myself why he did what he did and what I would do different. This is effectively a master study. The field doesn't really have, I mean, Moonstone is not masterful pixel art, but I kind of like that punk rock element of pixel art. In lieu of actual masters, we learn from what some European teenager did on their Amiga 500 from 1990. And we keep building on our technique as we go. So that explains the rationale why I'm retouching old sprites. But there's another reason, and it's an emotional reason. We did this a lot in pixelation with each other's art, which led to some acrimony sometimes, understandable. But it's instead of having to come up with a whole new design, kind of second guess yourself, you can go with something that actually exists, that some other artist made, and do the finish. Because pixel art is mostly about finish. You can design 1,000 different knights in the available pixel real estate, and some will be good, some will be bad, and if I do that, then I will just get caught up in the design of the knight, and the pixel art pass will be won't be the focus, it will be perfunctory. Here I'm just zenning out, dealing with the pixels themselves. So now we have a palette over here, it's scattered. We want to isolate this color, put it at the end of the index file, go to colors, reduce. Actually, before we do that, we have a lot of duplicate colors because we copy pasted. So if I do that, that'll take away a lot, and then just unused as well. It's 9. Cool. This means which one is this? Okay, I'll put that at the end of the index so we don't have to deal with it. We can change it on the fly, which is quite important. Select the rest of the range. I'll sort it by brightness. I'll remap the colors. This is all like Deluxe Paint, all like methodology that still lingers in promotion. That if you use Sprite or something else, you will have an easier time. But this is what I've been using as a professional for 20 years. So I don't even upgrade this. This is an old version. I keep it as is. It's very buggy. I love it nonetheless. It's been my companion through life. So we have a single row of colors here, but I don't think this is how we want to do this particular sprite for a couple of reasons. So we're going to break out the colors into 2 ramps, as it was probably made. Does it still look the same? It does. Let's make a save. So this tells us that this little ramp of 3 colors here is remappable. In the game, there's different knights with different colors: a red knight, a green knight, so on. So these are just remapped and they keep the same sprite as is. That's how you made video games back in the day. I mean, that's how you still make video games for the most part. So we're not going to mix these colors with these colors as I usually would, because and here, therefore, you can see a new challenge for me, something I wouldn't do usually. I probably will have to keep these grays because they need to play off all the other colors. I can't give a little subtle purple hue as we're wont to do sometimes in this art style. I will need to keep it gray so it works with any possible remapping of these colors. So mostly what I'll be doing at this point is I'll make a copy of this. You will see me flick between these 2 frames a lot. They're just 2 different frames of like if I make alterations on this one. So I can proof what I'm doing versus what the original intent was. So let's talk about this sprite. The first thing that I notice is that he's leaning back a little bit, but he's holding up a broadsword with both arms. So a 2-handed sword, I don't know what you call it, I'm not a medieval expert. So there is a little bit of a point to him leaning back. Moonstone is a bit of a goofy game. These things matter when you retouch or touch up pixel art. You should always be thinking about the aesthetic purpose of the asset. So he's not just a cool knight, he's a little bit of a Monty Python knight. So we don't want to remove that essence from the character. We just want to play to it and play against it where we think it's good. For example, the first thing I would do, talking about posture here, is I would probably I would shorten this a little bit so we can see the feet. We don't have to be exact about the pixel placement. Also, it's always good to have a second side view here, which is zoomed out. So pixels look different up close. This looks like a Lego game we're going to try to solve. This has an illusion of fidelity. That is the end result the user will be looking at mostly. If you're not a pixel artist, you're not doing this, right? If you want to learn pixel art, this is what you should be doing though. You should be downloading stuff, opening it up in your suite, and just looking at the pixels forever, right? Okay, so it doesn't matter if I'm doing it exactly. I'm just trying to capture an intent. I want to change his stance, so he's leaning back, but the back foot is not like this, because now he really looks like a paper cutout. It's only a model. It's not really camelot. So we want to give him a bit more stability, but still keep him fairly kind of like trying to hold up this intense sword. Immediately, I'm jumping from thing to thing because, you know, if I wanted to be a oil painter and work on one painting for 3 years, my brain wouldn't allow me to do that. I don't have the attention span. So I was doing this, but now I'm jumping to the sword, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this middle part. We'll solve this some other way. So if you see me go from thing to thing, I'm not going to explain everything. There's reasons for my brain to jump from this to this. We're trying to solve a lot of different things. Like the next thing my brain wants to do is to give this guy a knee, an armored knee. I think this is some sort of chainmail or like something that goes on top. We'll sort this later. I'm just making a note for myself that this is not just more armor here, but I do want to give him a knee, and I will probably want to surface the knee a little bit as well. That doesn't work because this is in the way. So now immediately we have like a choice. How much do we want to keep detail that is meant to convey one thing potentially versus what we think would be better for the clarity of the sprite. This sprite was made fast by an artist back in the 90s. They probably loved the sprite, but nobody asked them like, what is this cluster of pixels here? And for our purposes, this matters. So I'm gonna do a little thing, and we'll decide later if this is a good idea or not. I'm gonna reduce the length of this thing. I don't know what you call it. You let me know. And see if we can actually get a little bit more leg out here. Make him sexy. We don't have to worry about that too much. Let's actually work on the spicy stuff. The helmet. This and this, 2 lines next to each other, betray resolution, no detail. I know what he's trying to do with this. He's trying to make some sort of like planar, kind of like a little bit of an emboss. But we're not going to solve it like this. Also, he's looking too much, like he's turned too much. I think he would be a better knight, potentially, if he was like this instead. At least for his idle pose. When he starts walking that way, he can go like this. So, as to what sort of helmet this is, and you know, I'm not a medieval scholar, I don't care, basically. Although I do think that the bucket helmet style is kind of funny, if that's what they're going for. It's like, if it's a bucket, then his eyes are, he has a very, no, I mean, he's got a lot, hit in the head a lot, so could be, but we're not gonna go with this. We're gonna solve this without changing the proportions for the sprite. Potentially? No, actually, now he looks more squished. So, I am gonna change. See, pixel art shit. 1 row of pixels at this real estate makes a big difference as to what it is. Let's flip between the two. Do you see how much this has changed just by changing 2 lines, 2 rows? So I'm gonna commit. I don't mind. I'm gonna sort it later if it doesn't work for me. We're gonna be retouching certain parts of this a lot. Trying to get some planes, getting some. There's a bit of shadow here, but also it's a bit too much. Like, see, there's another thing. Like, this is our ketone, this is our highlight. They're quite close, and then you go like, is this ketone for this element? Is it getting hit by light so much that we're changing ketones? We shouldn't. So instead, let's try not to worry about highlights. Let's just worry about shape for now. That's a good way to look at these things often. Oh, that's an interesting pixel. Depends on the color of the background. Let's try it. See, now that looks a little bit like it has Z depth, but perhaps it actually hurts the sprite as well. I'll make a choice later. Final choice. So this main 3 colors, same as this. I should treat it in a similar way, but I have an option here. I think I'm gonna knock this down later. I think I'm gonna knock, like, I'm not gonna have so much highlight. Just a preference. But this one can be more highlight. So we're gonna treat this as the key color here. And try to retain the. See, there's a few, like, I make changes. This one is a connector, but here, there's a few good strokes that I do like. It doesn't actually, this is why, like, even in old art, the pixel artists had their instincts, and they didn't know exactly all the time, like, again, presumption, but they didn't theoretically care so much what they were doing. They were painting with pixels, but still, the pixels urge you to make certain shapes. And all I'm trying to do, this is bad, double banding. The reason I will do this is because basically I'm defeating my own purpose. This bands with this. You can see it here. It kind of like, it breaks the fidelity of that thing. But I do like this little shadow, so I have either the choice of connecting. This makes it too fat, or take it away. And then this is an edge. This is like a single line edge that doesn't work very well. So what do fellow pixel artists? We do later. That's what we do. We'll solve as much as we can for now. This is like a nice little bit of extra dynamics for a character that just slices and chops everything. So for now we'll keep it. Do you feel this? This is what a pixel artist does. They just go, huh. That's the life. And if you're working faster, good for you, but eventually you run into this situation where you're just flipping back and forth between two solutions. I kind of like this little bit of a, let's see, we're gonna do this to our knight. We have to figure out like how shiny he is and how beat up he is. We don't want to make him Iron Man necessarily. Actually, we should never make him Iron Man. Just playing around. I kind of like this triangle, but it's too much highlight. How about just keep it classy. Does this work? You may be noticing that I'm avoiding single pixels. Ask me about that later. Why I'm doing that? Why am I not just going toot toot, we're done? Do I like this? Well, this is a jump, right? This is another problem when you're working with a so small palette like this. From this to this, it's such a big jump. I don't have any. Perhaps later we'll do a color pass and I'll add a buffer shade. But we're doing such a jump from this to this that this mostly now has to be used for deep, kind of like cuts and detail work and deep shadow. Not so much for like. This way, this invalidates the point of this. If you did that, then you might as well start thinking of this as a buffer shade and just use it for connections and see, it reads better. But I don't want to go this way yet, so we're just going to take this out and try to. Actually, let's move on. Is this mostly this color? How about we play some Tetris? See, this is an odd solution that not a lot of pixel artists would do. Instead of this, or instead of removal, so we go like this. Do you see that we're playing a little game of Tetris and trying to not align elements or align them in an interesting way? So this works as well. This gives more dynamics to this brush stroke that goes into this brush stroke terminates. But then I'm thinking there's light interacting as well, so nah. Could we? Is it a time for a single pixel Telemachus? Is it really? Let's look at it. Nah, this is what happens to me. I'm not just like being insane with removing single pixels, or not just that. In the end, like my aesthetics tell me, this is a stronger brushstroke. Let's keep it as it is. Let's not mess around with it too much. So for now, we'll keep it at this. Another thing I often do, I want to work on this scarf, but we have one long line of pixels, we have another long line of pixels, one hugging the other. This is one type of banding, but not everybody would agree with me that it is banding. But also the light sources, again, generally the light source on this sprite is kind of this way, which is an odd choice. We're probably going to centralize the light source from above for reasons. Many reasons. But speaking about these two lines hugging each other, I'm probably going to fatten it up one way or the other. I'm going to give it more heft. I don't know if it's heft. I'm going to give it more shape, more space to breathe for what it is. Teach the player, actually hug the thing that it's supposed to be hugging, the shoulder, make him feel a bit more robust. Cast a shadow at the end. Nope. We have to observe the geometry here. And then, actually, that's all we have to work with here, huh? This color and this color. This is another. Could we go this bright? No, I don't think we should. He's a bit of a junk, like Buckethead Knight. He's not shiny boy. Ah, that's a pleasing orchestration, perhaps. I think the single pixel deserves to be here. Another thing we can do is do this and give him a little bit of circularity. I mean, we can solve it different ways, but how about this gets a little, it's too bright. This is interesting. It could either be the little stud that the main comes out of, or it could be circularity to the helmet and catching the strong specular. This is kind of like Amiga appropriate solutions for Shiny Knight. Let's leave it like that and deal with it later. Although it's taking away from the identity of the Knight. His bucket helmet. Pixel art is also amusing, which is one of it. You can distort things with just one pixel in such a way that So there's merit to playing around with, even if you're not making the right choices. Now I'm with all those, like now we have these two, this angle basically, a 45 angle, and this 45 angle. So we are implying a sort of sheen that's going through, and there is something about him. This one doesn't help as well. There is something about him being more blocky, but then you get the problem that it looks a little bit like you're working with mixed resolutions. That whenever you do this, like this sort of detail looks bad. It just looks like different resolutions of pixel art meshed together. So here we're implying this is our minimal shape, and then we're implying double shape. And this is banding, right? It's banding here, and it's banding here. And you can immediately kind of see it if you're trained to look for this effect. That this is why on the other side it's interesting. Then we make this stronger, we take away this little circularity, and we let him be what he is for now. Is this better? No. I played around with this for a long time, so let's move on to something else. Things I like about the sprite. I like the drapery and kind of like the general feeling of like how they'd have done this chest piece. I'm gonna try not to mess around with that too much. He's still leaning. I just make him lean more by adding 2 pixels. Also now we have a tangent here that makes this an internal outline, but let's not mess around with that. I could do this. Look, different shapes. Look in the preview. I have to make a choice. More bulky, more one line. A break, a harmony of 2 little curves. Do we want it? Yeah. No, I don't know. What does this do? No. So, let's try to remove these highlights, as I said, and let's see if we can actually cut into the fabric for details with the black line. Later, I'm probably gonna. This is too bright. I'm gonna probably drop this color in value. But let's see if we can at least play around. Let's try to understand what the artist is trying to do. This looks like a little bit of a frayed edge. We will solve this later. This is like where the armpit captures the fabric, I think. I'm gonna put some music on over this video later for when I shut up, because it's gonna, trust me, it's gonna be some shut up and pixelating eventually. I'm just front loading a lot of information because I don't think I've ever explained this stuff. This is hilarious, this little chest pectoral, that's what I'm reading here. And I don't think we need pecs on fabric. What we need is medieval drapery, right? They didn't. I mean, there is an element of 80s. This game is about chopping things up, so I get it. But nonetheless, let's try to not emphasize drape muscles so much. Let's try to let the armor do the talking. Now, a big part of him being bulky is this other shoulder, as you would expect, because it's in the background. Let's play around with that. Let's sort our lighting. Do we want top down? Do we want top down? Is this better? Who knows? To trust our gut sometime. Let's see now with the highlight. What can we do for this? This wouldn't catch as much light though. Should I remove a pixel? Always remove a pixel. Don't add a pixel, remove a pixel. Now we have this strong line. I think I'm going to use 45 angles for this because they're severe. But this is 33. So could we see, we have a break here. We don't have a lot of real estate, but if we do this, it's not terrible, but it's just reusing the sample, right? And then we have this. If we go like this, then we have a deeper indentation. It looks kind of weird, although at least it has harmony with 1, 2, 3. What if we could push it Further. Nope, it doesn't play well with this thin line now. Also, it doesn't play well with the thing that we're trying to render, which is a chess piece. Can we reverse it? Pixel Artist is processing. How about this? Thank you. My mind jumped to another detail. There's going to be a lot of that. Do we want frayed little hands? He's been on the battlefield for a long time, chopping up trolls, getting eaten by dragons. You should play Moonstone, by the way. Whoever you are. Get a friend. Get a couple of friends. Is there an Amiga emulator that does a multiplayer online? Play Moonstone with friends somehow. Trust me. Do you trust the stranger? Okay, so let's flip. Oh, let's also move this guy down a couple of pixels. He's brighter, obviously, but we're gonna do more highlights. Besides that, do we like this patterned version? I think I like it. I'm not sure about this stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is too high a value jump to do little internal detail. So we're probably gonna have to extend the highlight color a little bit over the key. What can we do? No, never do that. What if we use it to accentuate where arm is? Could we find a pleasing shape? See, if I do this, I band. This is pixel art for me. If I do this, I band over here. And sometimes it's okay. Shock. But this is a single. Why does Telemachus hate singles? It's a mystery. I should probably do that. Let's see how it looks. On black, it doesn't matter. There may be some merit to using it here like this. This is a big old muscle. we should sort whatever is going on over here. Like, why is there highlights on the bottom bit? Probably straighten this arm out. Let's take away a lot of the detail, but don't forget that this is like a gauntlet. Like a, you know what it is. So we don't want to lose the detail. We're going to capture the detail and accentuate it without using too much real estate. And this is an arm, and this is supposed to be some sword handle that we don't really have an implication of how it looks, so we're going to have to make it ourselves. What's the angle? Is he holding it like that, or is he holding it more like this? Like, you can see that I shouldn't probably go into that. You can see the phallic implication, right? But oh, this is, I think, the handle. So the original artist wanted that's even more phallic. But we'll go with what the original artist wanted. Who are we to mess with the Freudian implications of the 1990 Amiga sprite? So, if anything, we should be accentuating. Don't mind me, I'm freestyling a little bit now, like in terms of these choices. I'm trusting that will make sense later. There is a little bit of shadow that would fall from the handle on the hand, and then this is a bit difficult to tell what we should do. But there's also an actual handle to the sword that we should probably I don't know about this. We'll figure out the knee later. Should we fix this sword? Experienced pixel artists probably have already noticed what I'm gonna try to do. Would you do it? Let's try. very satisfying thing to do. This is a perfect line, so it doesn't have built-in jaggedness. Yes, I have decided this was a good change to me. Let's see if we can have enough space to actually convey. Although perhaps like a sword doesn't really catch light. It makes it look more round than like a sword, but it's a welcome detail in a sense. Is there any other way? We're not going to outline anti-alias, especially here. Although it's bright enough that it's probably going to be okay unless it's on white. But this is old technique. What are we trying to do? We're trying to fake something that doesn't exist. So how about we keep pixel art? Pixel art likes being pixel art. I've asked it. Do we want to? Yeah, give it a bit of a pace. It's okay. I'm still not sure what to do with this part. Certainly separate this from what's below. Should be cast shadow here. Even more perhaps. Yeah, separation. Look, that's a big problem here. Mess. Oh, sorry to the original artist. I love you actually. I love Moonstone. Thank you for making this game. The lines, the black lines, can you see the disconnection and kind of like the noisiness? And now we're starting to get some shapes. Shapes are good. This example. Now this has inspired me to go a bit darker there. Do I want to? No. Actually, no. Perhaps the opposite is the case. Yeah. So now these pixels we don't actually need. This is kind of interesting. There's a little break here, both sides. It creates an interesting visual effect, but it's probably not to our benefit in the long run. So, can we capture? No. A little bit of a shine, but not. This is okay. Do we want a little point? Yeah, there you go, badass knight. Orange knight. The most unexpectedly badass of the knights in Moonstone. Could we? We should have another shade. We can do this and fake it. Yeah, separation. Can we actually? We can. See, this is a problem though. We talked about this. If I start mixing this round and use this for shading, although it kind of perceptually works a little bit, it kind of works. It's terrible actually. Then what if we remap this to bright red? This will stick out, so let's not do that. Let's stop ourselves now. But perhaps this is a bit of, can we anti-alias like internally? If you really blur your eyes, if you have 2 drinks, this is a cool solution. But sober, how about if we help it on the other side? Yeah, okay. That's my style. What can you do? This kind of inverse perversion. Oh, but no, there's a single here. This is not really a single. You're going like, Telemachus, this is a single. This is connected. But the way it's framed by the tangents of all the other pixels makes it stick. You see this. This is the reason I turned on my mic. If I just move pixels around, you'll go like, cool story. But now I have to actually point this out and show you this pixel. What do I do? One solution is to bulk up. But now he leans too much. The other solution is to move. See, this is like the Tetris element. Move this whole thing one back. Make more real estate. But then this is too much. Changes the shape. Do we want to change the shape? If I do like this, I have a banding line. We leave it like that. Perhaps we change the shape. See, we change the shape on the other side. This is banding, but perhaps we'll live with this particular case. Do we? Now he's turned too much this way. Let's just leave it like that. We kind of solved the sword. I'm impressed. Let's do one little specular highlight somewhere. If I do 2, it's too much. If I do 1, it's very wet. But what about thin? No. I think this is the right place, although we'll have to sort this tangent. See, now everything has to change. If I do this, then that bands with that, then I have to go like this. But then that means the shape has changed. The big beefy arm is kind of like angled like this now. So we don't want to do that. We will probably, how about this, and bounce on the other side. We will live with our original pixel. Sue me, pixel police. 2. Then we're basically saying, check out this helmet, check out this arm, check out this sword. Is that the flow of like, for this sprite? And also, we might want to save that extra specular for when we solve whatever this is supposed to be, which I mean is the arm. Oh, did I just kind of solve it by pushing things around? What say you, dear viewer? Don't tell me anything actually, just watch. No, actually you can tell me things, if you want. This is 1 too low. Now have a little bit of symmetry. Now there's another thing. There is a little bit of a puffed chest to this, that it's hilarious, but also it's part of the design. This is to him, but you see like he's deflated, so we're gonna have to do something about this. He is a proud knight. He's not afraid of getting chopped into pieces again and again. So we might even just let's get some tits going. You know what? Yeah, we're gonna keep the full bright on this as well. We're just not gonna have as much of this in here to kind of create a cell shaded look for this. Perhaps we can do King of Fighters. Do we have enough real estate for such a solution? No. Hold on, let's be creative. That's fine. We can actually. No, keep it like that. What if we change? Oh, I have to change this whole thing, make it different, to give a little bit more real estate here. So I think that's it. That's kind of like the way forward here. Then again, this is now flat. This 1, 2, 3, and also 1 and 1, 2 in the middle. Not a good flow of a hierarchy of shapes. So perhaps we just take the nonsense buffers out and make our cuts. A bit more beefy muscle. Yeah. So then I don't like seam. Shape on this side. That's terrible. That actually is hilarious again. We're not going that direction. Not that fun. There's another element to this, like we chose a little bit of an upside down cross. Like this is the light source we're playing with, or perhaps a little bit like this as well, because we're fading on one side. We don't have to be completely literal and consistent with stuff like this. It's a sprite for a video game. But now if I do like both sides like this doesn't work. We have to choose a side and kind of lean on it. This seems to suggest. Is it like this? Is it the same direction? Also, it looks bad, so we might as well abandon that solution. And sometimes crisp is good. Perhaps all we need to do is separate that shoulder more. let's... Oh, look at this S. Look at like natural clusters. And then you go like, this is artistic. Do I keep it? And then do I incorporate this sort of shaping in other places, like try to find other S's to accentuate? And then you go, oh, I have a graphic style for this sprite. That's why it's good to work with old art. Yeah, we're gonna do this actually. I'm gonna trust my gut. Yeah, we're gonna do this. Nice, I'm happy with the solution. Came out of nowhere. We want this. No, this is too much. But also this is too much. So how do I solve this? We have to take this out. Then we have to support this cluster a little bit because this is too thin, right? Like it feels almost. That's why it was like this before. It was like this. It feels like this is the real estate I need for this term of the outline here, but I want to keep it, boys and girls. Sorry, original sprite. Can I at least give it a reason? Do you have a reason? This is now just Tetris. This is no longer conveying information. I'm just using pixels to touch myself. So let's go back and calm down. No. How about we keep it like this? No, that's enough. We'll sort this later. I realize that I must be sounding like a crazy person. That's okay. At least you know what you're getting into if you want to get into this field. See, this is to my interest as the other arm behind the sword, trying to get the same values, but it complicates the sword, so yeah. Do we want any... that's not bad. That's not bad. 2, 2, 2. How about... Nope. Let's keep it like that. Don't mess with it. Yeah, it's fine. Now he looks proper buff. Knight, am I turning you too much into an action thing and not enough into a Monty Python thing? Is it like a masculine inclination here at play? Let's not mess with it too much. I want to retouch the face soon, but this was a success. It gives me strength to carry on. It's probably like an hour that I'm talking over this. This is bad. This is the top part of a gauntlet, right? I'm not even going to look for reference. Sue me. It's hugged. This internal, like we've got black, we've got a line, and it's a pillow hugged. So let's try to figure out just the necessary amount of shading. Do we like that highlight? Well, we like all the wet highlights, right? We would, because they catch the eye, but that doesn't mean you should use them everywhere. It took me, I don't know, 5 of my formative pixel artist years to even tell myself that and actually do it with any consistency. I'm not even doing it now when I'm 37 almost. Also, it's time to start thinking about the bottom part of the sprite. I've been thinking about adding a few pixels to him, but then I would be deviating heavily from this guy. Although I've already messed it up because that's where his feet land, so that's like his heel really. And for me, I've already turned it one in, so he looks shorter. Pixel art stuff. That's, I think, is that the pose I want to capture? Somehow, I think I'm actually hurting this sprite by turning that toe outwards. It's a better battle position, and probably the knee should be here, and we shouldn't be able to see any of the leg. We should sort this out some other way. But, am I doing the right thing for the character? Given that I can change the drapery here, both sides, I can still edit, and I will. I think I will actually pull that whole knee out and make this go. To give him, make the what he is and what he's wearing clearer. I probably will do this anyway. And also it's kind of like medieval-esque to have it kind of drape over this, but this, I still feel he should have a little bit more leg. So, sorry. Oh my god, why did I do that? 1 pixel. Will you forgive 1 pixel? See, now he's leaning forward, eager for battle. This is him still leaning kind of backwards a little bit. I will do 1 pixel. I hope you're not too upset. Would you be upset about something like this? If it was your art, you would be. We'll have to figure out a good kind of like... I don't want round. That's not what Moonstone is about. Moonstone is about this S shape. We have now decided the slice shape. So we want to find a way to accentuate that. We'll keep that for now. This probably has some sort of like this. I need to figure out what the food is going to be shaped like as well. But let's pull a little bit of that out. Now we'll have a chance to show the shadow. The shadows are actually quite interesting and foundational to a lot of old pixel art video games because they orient the player towards like where their hitbox is and if they're jumping and so on. So it pays to do your sprites, including their shadows, especially when you're just conceptualizing a sprite. I think I will move this up even one more. I don't know if this is the right choice. Could be. And perhaps this doesn't need to be there. We could also blaspheme and give it a little bit of a tone turn. No, immediately. The pixel goals are not smiling. There should be a little bit of a curve to this anyway. Also, what's happening over here? What I'm gonna have to do is take away this whole drape thing and put it back in. We have to solve what the actual sprite is, what the proportions are, what he's wearing, where his knees actually are. And then we'll figure out the clothing. Something the original artist probably didn't do in this order. For good or ill, I'm not saying it's better to do it like this. You can get lost in the weeds trying to figure out something that nobody's going to see anyway. But let's say for now, as of some sort of belt. The other leg. The leg should start up high actually. He has a little, I don't know what you call this, you know. So we are trying to sort out this. See now, do I need to take it on the other side? So basically that will be the other leg though. Like this. I have to sort for this. So he is kind of, I see. This angle is not the right angle. We need to make this steeper to begin with. To even capture his actual stance. But that makes that look like thin, so we will fix that for him. Where is his waist? Do we actually need the opposite angle here? We need a little bit of this. Is that what's going on? Yeah, but this needs to be higher. By 1 or 2. How do we get that? 2. And then even more in. Let's forget about this little apron for the moment. Let's just do the armor. Even more. So heel, we finally found some sort of stable position. Is that what we want? Do we want? I think so. This is too thin. But that's not the solution for it, is it? Actually, I'm just fixing his posture eventually. That's what I'm doing. We could still make him lean though, just by doing this whenever we want. Oh, leaning back again, which we actually might want to do. But we'll consider that later. So I'm actually happy with figuring out where his actual anatomy is for now. Another very common thing in all pixel art, there is a highlight for the sole, and there is somehow, as if that captures some sort of weight of the foot. I think this is actually better sometimes, and we can do this side. We'll figure out what it is. Does it have one of those, like the same as the? Let's assume that it does. Let's get some sort of lip. You call it what you want, which would mean then this would catch, and we can use actually drapery to convey information about what's underneath. That tells a little story here, if you notice. It tells a little story of what's going on. Yeah. Do we want to extend to the knee? Actually, this makes it a stronger shape, but not. Actually, no, this is a dainty. This knee bit needs to change. Let's go with that. Tried and tested shape. One more. Ta-da! Nice, good leg. How about? Do I want to extend this whole thing out one? This is difficult, this bit, figuring out what my priorities are for the shapes here, but we'll move onwards for now. We can reinsert that. I think this is some sort of chain. It might do some interesting clustering to convey a little bit of a skirt, night skirt. Let's go with that. When nightfall comes, the brave knight takes off his armor and puts on his night skirt. No judgment. Yeah, the thing is, this is low. Actually, what I want is not that it's low. It doesn't have the curvature of the angle. This is ridiculous. Nah. I guess I learned the hard way not to give a knight a skirt. We should still obscure its shadow somewhere. And this should not stop there, it should go all the way up actually. And we might even highlight it. We will cover it though. So. But now we can start thinking about that. Where does the we can cover it more, go all the way to the knee, capture. Do we get a clean line here or semi-clean? I think we do. We probably should go with that. Pixel sense is tingling. We will need some proper shapes there. Does this capture extra darkness on the back? Do we do this on this side? Or do we? And then we do some drapery. And we have described our shapes. We might keep this. I could play around with like these bits for hours. I think this is the right code. They're removing those 2 pixels, kind of. Then again, this we did all this work to convey a different angle down here. It is too low. Should I put? This is not the angle. We changed the angle somewhere, and this is not the right angle. So, oh, it's not the perfect one. So we'll have to live with it. That's the pixel art life. Let's fix this knee. What's this shape? How turned it is. No. I will fix this. I don't like this either. So we need at least I want to do some sort of a little bit of drapery here, which has been a challenge with my method of pixel arting because of the aversion to single pixels. It's not easy to do drapery. It just creates a lot of banding. See? It does convey the thing we want to convey. We just have to find, oh, this is as bad as it can get. Banding on this horizontal everywhere. So at least get the right curve first and then we solve. That plus there's some sort of knee. This height, one lower. Yeah. Let's see. Figure out the exact detail of the shape later. This is a chance to actually describe this form a little bit when we color it in. When we find the right pixel balance at least. But that means that catch is there. And then I guess we do follow the edge a little bit. Can we? Let's move all this so that we don't get confused. I am a little bit fond of it. A little bit. Now this is like creating single pixel anti-aliasing without actually doing this, right? I don't know if I like it. Let's strive for doubles at least until we can't do it anymore. Ah, something is happening here. This is too bright though. Unless we support it with more. It's not terrible. You can also do this. It's not terrible, but it pulls a lot of attention to part of the sprite that doesn't really have a lot of a story to it. This is bad banding. Anyway, I can't do this. So sometimes you just delete the... And if you want to support, you can do that. Then this cluster and these clusters are kind of like equally powerful. So it's not really hierarchy of shapes like this is a hierarchy of shapes, right? Big, second, third. If you go like this, there is no hierarchy of shapes. There's a relation of shapes, and then you can go, what is this? What is this? You may end up with a stable relationship somewhere. But once something is smaller or bigger than what's around it, then all those shapes need to be balanced somehow for the amount of attention you want to capture in the layer. So perhaps in the end, and this Can we reduce and augment? This bands. Dissolve the banding. This breaks at the same place. Perhaps it's okay. If I do this, then it bands on the other side. Actually, now I like this a little bit, although it's blocky. Sometimes blocky is good. Yeah, I mean, it's not the drapery that I was hoping for, but at least it has some sort of eloquence in terms of like raw pixels. It looks intentional and kind of like it has this flow. There's a Russian pixel artist on Twitter. I'm very sorry I forget your name. You do amazing work. You probably know who you are just by me doing this, like detail work that captures almost like a penciled kind of texture pass. You're amazing. Thank you for being inspiring. Now I'm kind of okay with this. Now we need a little bit of light on this side as well, for sure, although it's gonna be even that. Actually, why not follow? Is this what we need? No. I don't love it, but I'm not gonna bother with it too much at the moment. Let's carry on. There's another way we can kind of use that curve. See, why would... So this one pixel of difference tells us that either the fabric is curving inwards or it's actually thinner and the leg underneath is capturing the little detail, which I'm going to probably omit later because it's a single. I'm probably going to do this, but then that bands here. Some of you might be thinking, what is he talking about? Banding, banding, banding. There is a very simple way to express your concern. Please look here. Do you see the illusion of horizontal breaks? This is a way a lot of old art, old pixel art was shaded. It's not just the pillow shading that's the problem. It's following the breaks in such a way that it almost feels like your monitor is kind of fragmented in this kind of direction. Now, there is merit to visual illusions such as this, and if you like this and you want to do something artistic with it, in my long years I've decided that I shouldn't kind of like stamp my neuroticism on other people. Go with it. Sometimes banding is interesting and visually interesting, but doing this thoughtlessly all across your whole sprites, it has a cumulative effect. A little bit of banding here or there doesn't break anything, I don't think, anymore. But if you just do this everywhere, the fragmentation of the fidelity of what you're trying to convey has a cost like that. There's a lot more on this subject, and perhaps we should talk more about this instead of just going like, oh, banding, I'm fixing banding. Do you enjoy seeing fixed banding? Perhaps you might not agree that this is a concern, and that's fine. But for me it is. Let's go with that for now. That I'm trying to solve something. I'm not just doing ad hoc alterations. Where we started, where we are, we have really emphasized the legs, something that the original artist decided to not go with. First of all, because probably he wasn't very comfortable. Sorry for being presumptuous with this situation. But also because this is a sprite mostly about muscles and sword and bucket helmet. And we have strayed from that. And you know what, that's okay because we're having fun and nobody's hurting the original Moonstone. It's still there. You can play, you should play it. This is in the end a homage to a certain kind of nostalgia, right? You know what I'm talking about. But perhaps this shape is a little bit too kind of like, what are you trying to do, Telemachus? So simplify. Don't call that much attention to the element. It's one off, so that's correct, like it follows. But it's too bright. It's too bright for that side generally. Let's go with that. No? I hate it. Okay, don't worry too much about this. Just do your stuff. Whenever you don't have a lot of high value range, we jump from this to this. And if you start sculpting like this, it just breaks everything. Just keep to your key color and then black. Is it off black? It's black. The black outline and detail pass. It's like inking. Don't worry too much. And keep the highlights small. The eye will figure out that there's probably a shade between this and this, especially in motion. It doesn't matter. So we'll keep this knee pad, and perhaps this is a place for. It's another place, but feet, we have a little constellation of brightness. Perhaps we will keep this for this knee, and that's it. Let's solve this as well. I don't like this. This line is not strong by itself. Let's try to play with it and do this. That's okay. Now this one's here, so this should be here. Turn it a bit. This is confusing. We'll remove for now. We'll figure out what's down here next. That's better actually. Perhaps this knee should be one lower. Do we want to go whole cluster? Just what is this shape? Let's not have a. Can we use an S shape somehow? Go with what we said is kind of spicy. Find something we can continue. It does have a little bit of a shape, but what if we go and then now it's hugging both sides. This is interesting. But also, like dents in armor are interesting for this kind of knight that has been, as I said, decked a few too many times. That's actually very old school, this way of solving this. I don't like it. I don't like this. We shouldn't have that much attention, like with light. Turning even more. No, that is wasted. Let's keep it like this. I'll give him this chunky thing on this side as well, I think. Let's see how it looks. It looks more chunky, more like a, in Greek we say kataphractos, like a full plate, I suppose is the D&D name for that. But then this brightness doesn't work. What if we try to solve for the whole thing? It's not bad. I'm gonna waste a single pixel here. Can we? This balance, but actually, see, this is one of those cases where the illusion is kind of pleasing a little bit, but it should be one lower anyway. Which means let's make it band twice. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Can we at least convey this information like this? I think this outline is too fat now. If we do this, then we have a cadence of perfect staircase at least. People don't like the staircase, people like this. Oh, this is like a point of contention probably. I like outlines like this. I like outlines like this. Why? Because these pixels appear to be of a certain size. These pixels, the 45 floating connection, if you want to call it that, appear thinner perceptually. There's mathematics behind this, and it's not about mathematics for me. It's about aesthetics. I made an aesthetic call, and that influences how I pixel. So, and I know what's gonna come up. These are very fat now, actually, way fatter than this, and probably perceptually fatter than this. Yeah, not probably, for sure. I prefer the connection. I think the trade-off between the chunkyfying your real estate and implying solid connections for your clusters or shapes or whatever you want to call them is worthwhile trade-off. And there's many reasons. This is a dividing line among pixel artists, I feel, and it's not even about the personalities involved at this point. I don't think it's been a long time since anybody made a stink about this, and people quietly pixel the way they like art to pixel, and people enjoy looking at the artwork. It's more about like an inherent. People feel strongly about this if they pixel because they learn technique one way or the other, and it's hard to change techniques. It took me a long time to accept myself as a staircase outline kind of guy. So just keep it in mind. Make your own choices. What I always recommend to people is, I mean, not always, I had a different mind when I was younger about this stuff, but I'm older now, and I've mellowed out a little bit. Don't do it like I do it, because I do it. Who cares who I am? Try it before you find reasons why you shouldn't try it. Try to pixel without a lot of single pixels. Try to find harmony of shapes in your clusters. If you don't like to use the word clusters, call it whatever you want. You can tell that this is a shape, right? It has the same color. You can tell that this is a shape. Brush strokes, go with what you like. But they're if not should, enjoy playing around with finding harmonies. Like, if you zoom in a lot on something, it should look like a little bit of a considered and arranged game of Tetris. One where your lines don't clear when you arrange everything correctly. It's just stay there. That's the aesthetic, right? So, and the banding, sometimes you live with the banding. You will notice, actually, that I'm using tetramino shapes a lot. Or on and off at least, for this one. I'm not making a point out of it. These are just nice, good, stable solutions where you connect your shapes. Like, instead of doing this, you see these are unconnected. They band. Do you see it? It takes a little bit of a training to see how we have a little bit of a just floating banding issue. This doesn't band. It's stable. It has a direction. It has still the same direction as a brush stroke. If you brighten it up at one, now you know that the direction is like technical term there. Anyway, this is what I went off on a tangent about this, but hey, if you're watching this, you probably care about pixels in some level. If you're still watching this, at least. So we are gonna complicate the shape. I said, and then immediately take it back. I don't know. I wouldn't want just outline the flat shape here, but it is a vice to overcomplicate things, and I am a sinner. I should be repentful in these days, especially beautiful Christmas days, as the world is slowly coming to an end. Or the least I could do is repent. Let's keep it positive vibes. We're doing art. Art is a defense against absurdity, I think. Well, it's not me. Other people thought that as well. Smarter people. Okay, I like that cluster. This is a bit heavy. What if we actually break our outline to go like this is armor and has ins and outs? Yeah, actually I'm doing it over here as well. Why do we break? Yeah, I mean, that way we can actually support this being a little bit flat. Does this work here? Oh, this is a good pixel change. It is by itself. Turn this, no, turn this the other way. No, it was fine with this. So I'll go with this. Do we want another extra shine? Do we want to say gling, 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 gling? 4 is usually in art worse than 3. Keep that in mind. You don't have to agree with me, just think about it. Is 3 elements arranged interestingly better looking as a sample than 4? I think so. Certainly better than 2. 2 is an accident. 3 is a pattern. 4, at that point we are just doing shading. Or texturing, to be exact. Let's take this one. This is too cheeky. But perhaps in showing a little bit of highlight on top of the shows that changes the angle of the leg and the knee. Like it's the same if I do this here. If we change the key color for these elements, now he is more. The leg is more straight, and we could potentially should. But this looks terrible. Yeah, well, if this is catching this much light, perhaps, and then that makes it mandatory to go for actually, I think, or something. And where is the right? That's the right angle. Should we break into this? Get separation. This angle is actually, see, now this, I'm trying to do some sort of, kind of like this. But that doesn't work in this angle, in this kind of rotation of the legs. So what I probably should do is give more space to the leg and let the imagination show the curvature. I could even... Yeah, this is kind of interesting. Banding on purpose on both sides to capture the highlight. It's fine. I go on about banding for like 15 minutes and then I just do it on purpose instead of going... I mean, see, there's no space. If the other solution actually would be this. But do you see? It obstructs the shape more. I like it as is. So we have kind of messed with this sprite a lot. That's where we started. That's where we are. He's still back ahead. I mean, not the guitar player. Now that we've done all this, also worth doing a few. These knights in this game are afraid to heck and back. They have had a bad time. There is some merit to doing a few cuts in the fabrics. Let me do this thing here. Even potentially holes. So if I do this, then I have to check with. Only one is not good, but I'll check with like. See? Nah, that's like a step too far, the hole. He's afraid, he's not ragged. The story matters when you make art, even game art. No, too complicated, it's fine. Perhaps, yep, that's a good addition. Enough real estate for everything. 2. Shape. I still don't like this. No. We need the I know why. We need the opposite rotation. So you cannot be here. You need to say that's too much. You said that's this. Oh, that's a big problem actually. I just now opened the kind of works for the design of this. Because it also ends here. S shapes. Find an S shape, Telemachus, and support it. That's all an S shape. That'll work. Almost, I think. We'll see. But this is too drastic. Okay. Sword, are you okay? Sword, as you are. disconnect you here. Nice and shiny, sharp. Do we like this highlight or do we go? Blades are blades. How about the other side? What everybody does. Now, look at this. Please, dear pixel artist viewer and or layman, do you see the bad thing? Please tell me you do. Please tell me. I mean, you don't have to tell me. I know it's a real thing. I think I do. But I don't like it. Do you like it? It's okay to like it. You can do whatever you want. Leave that S. That's the original S of the design. It's cool. Perhaps we can actually accentuate it here. Do we want that bigger dent on the peck? No, because actually, do we? Should I? Do we? Oh, I don't like that. It's fine. So next step is, first of all, is this the best we can do with this? Even just like 2 pixels, give it a bit more. It has a, now that we're doing S's, it has a little bit of a, see, like, there's a mess in here somewhere. Okay, and this is already SE enough. Perhaps we can do this. No, no, this makes the trapped internal kind of guessed out outline look like too much. Another era of Telemachus would also consider, you know, dumb stuff like that, but we're not going to do that. That's good. See, then you start seeing the shapes that you're trying to support, and you're like, I can go one step further. It bands. Do we like it? What if we reverse solve it? Too ragged. Now that's basically my life on a pixel. I try to understand what the story of the design element is, and if I want to support it or downplay it. Now that we've done this, we have to look at the face again and make some final comments. You see better like this. Huh. No, but somehow kind of like this. We could like go nuts, but see, he's blushing. Oh, I mean, it's okay to blush. I'm not against that. It's just going against the rest of the story. We'll make blushful night some other time. Now that we've done all this black detailing elsewhere, we can tell that we can use it a little bit as outline, I mean, shadow, inline, whatever you want to call it. This is not good now. This little break here. We could connect. Let's see how it looks on pure unsoiled white. It's pleasing. Some of it is pleasing. I'm happy with some of it. Well done, self. Terrible. We can already find places where just a little bit more accentuates curvature of shapes. This, I want this to be perfect. Yeah, thank God. Now I solve this. Just that little change actually makes the shape. How about you move here then, now that there's 2 above you? Yeah, do we have enough space to actually follow the detail? Too much? Keep it simple. In that case, let's keep it simple. No? Why is this hard? This, I don't like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like too many. 1, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. One line. Like, we need to fatten off something or remove something. That's my feeling. That's already better. Perhaps this needs to be. Yeah, okay. Perhaps this also needs more space to live. Yeah, better. Now we can break this a little bit. but where is the right? This bands everywhere. Yeah. Oh, see, this is the Tetris I'm talking about. If I make this and this bands, and then you're like, how do I solve this? Do I connect this? No, it's too heavy. Do I go like this? Then it bounds on this line. We have to live with some of it. How about? No, we need that shape. We need this break here. How about this? Reverse solve. Everybody hates it. I like it. Okay. We go from pure white back to the darkness. I think that always works. It would work even better if this was off black. Like a little bit of saturation and a vibrant color. See how it pops? That's one way to do these sprites. But we're gonna mess with. This has been already a very long video. Do people like this? Would people like actually listen to this whole fucking thing? Oh, sorry for cursing. It's Christmas. We should be thankful of everything. How about this? Yeah. So, do I mess with colors now, or do I call this and go like, yeah, there you go. Enjoy. How about this? It stabilizes the art a little bit, but then it decreases this little curve. It makes it edgy. What would you do? Send me your psychic waves. You would do this. Okay. How about this? Would you do this? No. You would. You're smart. You wouldn't do that. Let's make it tattered a little bit on the other side, just to say this is happening on that side as well. Perhaps we actually need to imply the color. That's not an implication, it's a lot of color actually there. That's fine. I'll live with it. The sword is the face and the sword are my final concerns. We need another pass. Also see, I used a few symbols, but at least now we know where the knuckle is, which is important for this sort of sprites. And we can actually do that, I think. I'm not against this. Can we actually find a way to know? No, this is a singles kind of time. And we will accept that and move on. We don't want to lose our minds. Is that okay? Yeah, that's certainly better, because then we don't have 1, 2, 3 height. But the angle is a bit too steep. No, it's at least it's interesting like that. Okay, so we're done with. Are we? Should we perhaps just omit from one side, so there's a bit of weight? Yeah, let's go like this. It's fine. It does decrease visibility on the sword a little bit. Like, we can still do this. It's doubles. Ostensibly, doubles are okay. Is there a visual illusion here that because this pixel is here, this looks like it's sagging a little bit here. So either I go like this, or actually, how about the arm is there? So we could even no, but this is fine. If we don't mess with this, people will get that this is the other side of the other arm. We had a little point to play with this point. How about this thing? On the same line. Okay, fine with this. Now the face. Immediately, that's the change. Also, we could go like no. What would you do? Would you just? Does he need to have a shiny helmet? I mean, he's shiny everywhere else at this point. I don't like this. How about... It's kind of funny like this, but I need to salvage this shit because it's good as it is. So what if we actually... I mean, change the sprite once more. Sorry. No. Change my mind. Actually, it wasn't as bad. It's just like this. No, it is bad. It's not the same knife. It's just not the same knife if you change that. How about... How about we actually... Huh. Huh. Wow. What if actually decide that that is a legit shiny part of this knife? But then, how about this? Huh. Thinking. That's like shadow falling from the tuft. I like it. Even if it's a single, perhaps we can actually do... Do we like this omission? Yes. Kind of softer, kind of like an illustrative omission. The shadows blend fine. Mind is jumping from thing to thing. Make a call. There is something to this, but perhaps it's not aligned correctly. Perhaps actually staggering these creates more visual interest. There is a point when you work on something enough that you may feel confident to autopilot if you kind of like, yeah, of course this should be like that. Now that I've worked on it enough to know what the advantageous shapes are for what we're doing, of course I should just go in and cut little things. All I can say is, this is the more zen part of the process. Sure. What if actually... What if actually... Yeah. What if actually... I've got so few pixels and so few colors, and I'm trying to put them in a harmonious arrangement. That's all this job is in the end. And not get lost and forget what you're actually trying to describe. That part is the hard part. This needs probably... I mean, now they both look... Should I simplify those shapes? Let's try it. Take away the dents. It's a safer play. It tells the story. They look more like what they're supposed to look like, or almost. I can still put a shine on it if I want, but the idea is Okay. Maybe it's simpler. Do I want to actually? Yeah, it's fine. So color is the last thing that we could mess around with. Try not to curse. Just in the interest of learning, we can put one more dark color for the clothes to bridge into the black, and we could, I mean, even that one would have a huge impact because we have 4s here. Let's try it just to see. Oh, by the way, we might as well turn the colors to Amiga bit depth, which I think is 444. Depends on the, I mean, it's not as simple as that, but if we go 3, yeah, colors change. So it's not 333. 444 seems fairly, so I can save. Always save your project. Now you can see that these colors are adjusted to that bit depth. They're very steppy. I don't have as many options, but I have a lot still. 444 is very comfortable. So we can, but also let's look at the hue, the values like 18, 25, 32. Do they share 255, 136? Do they share a scheme for how they're selected, you think? How's the saturation? All the values change, so perhaps then I could kind of like build a value that I find aesthetically pleasing more than worry about does it perfectly remap, because we're not going to remap anyway for this. Now there's a choice. We could go like this, and I think you probably should here. That's another advantage of like clustering this way. If you want to add another color later, because all the arrangements are fairly kind of like accommodating to each other, you can find where you can and cannot add colors without getting too lost, because you're still trying to avoid singles. So also there's another reason why clustering works is you can resize an asset and clean it up quite quickly, because there's not a lot of like stray anti-aliasing and stuff like that. Perhaps I shouldn't be explaining these things more, but I've been doing this way for so long. I tend to think that like a lot of the value is self-evident, but I do know that it's not. A lot of people would go like, why are you doing this? Enough to know that like the information hasn't exactly propagated over the years, but enough has. There's a lot of good artists working this way that kind of like the art speaks for itself enough. In case this is fairly trivial to add to the places where I think there is merit to add a little bit more depth, basically. Do you want it there? Ooh, this kind of like pops his shoulder out. Can we actually? How about destroying the S there? Don't destroy the S. The coolest thing about this whole sprite is the S. Keep it as it is. Now he's kind of like, yeah. Can I do a little bit of inverse indentation here? It's kind of like, this is a little bit. This is quite new school solutions to things. I like it. 2? No? What if? No, too much. 1 is fine. Is it? No, it looks like a sticking out. Oh my god. Okay. Don't ban though. Stop banning is what I'm gonna say. Okay. Don't mess around with it too much. Just add the color. Anywhere else where we're missing? It's fine. Perhaps this is a bit too much here. Oh, okay, that's a good one actually. Happy accidents, you know. This is why a lot of people become. This is another tangent. Excuse me, you're gonna have to listen to me for 2 hours. What can I say? This is another reason why a lot of people become pixel artists that don't have a gesturality. They haven't mastered gesturality with drawing on a piece of paper with a pencil, which is totally fine. There's also kinetic related reasons why somebody can't draw with a piece of paper. Perhaps their hands don't work like my hands work, or in any case, there's many reasons why somebody wants to do art and they can't rely on gesture. So a lot of people, when we were kids, I think this happened a lot, we want to be creative and we want to draw, and video games are cool obviously, and when you plot down pixels you get a lot of time to deliberate on very, very fine and minute control details, which you would have to train your body to do well with one gesture effectively at some point when you're doing kind of like that sort of art. So a lot of us have learned a lot. Sorry, that's bad English. We have benefited greatly from being able to do this all day. A completely opaque medium. You can cover anything with anything. What you trade for fidelity, like the number of pixels, you gain such a degree of control of simple small shapes interacting with each other. Sadly, this stuff doesn't translate to naturalized media very well. You actually have to go and train your natural skills. You're on a piece of paper. But eventually, a little bit of the processed mindset does translate, which is interesting in itself. I remember how often like the chorus would be to people like, you're a good pixel artist already, you're doing a cool job, but deficiencies can be seen in your traditional skills and you shouldn't be afraid of that. Just go and work on that, it's fun, trust me, that the whole discussion. And it's difficult for people because once you've achieved the level of finesse with such a controlled like plotting medium, and you go and draw with a piece of paper, a pencil and a piece of paper, it's rough, and nobody wants to be reminded of how hard it is to learn an art form again. Nonetheless, it is my general kind of like feeling. Perhaps it's a bias. The most enjoyable pixel art I've seen in my life is by people that are illustrators as well. Like they can work with natural media, or at least work with a gesture. So I still think there, even though it's a bit of a pill to swallow. Like if somebody's good at pixel art, give them a nudge to go back to natural media for a while and see if they translate some of that skill back there. Sorry, that was a tangent, but what we get for it is some subconscious pixel pushing, which I think is for the best sometimes. I don't like this one, do I? That's fine. Okay, so this is kind of done for what it is. We can try to, because this would be darker, it's true. Do we want that? Oh, we can even go like this, like the Charles, was it Charles Atlas? You know, the kind of the barrel chest that Frazetta likes so much. We want this? Yeah, fine, of course, why not? He still doesn't have a lot of a pelvis, but I've already broken the dimensions of the sprite a little bit. So I'm gonna perhaps I give him a little bit more space up there for genitalia. Important for a knight as well. It's not all just slaying dragons. Oh, this is a different technique. I'm kind of like, this is black detail, but now that I have a dark shade, I'm using it a little bit to buffer. Also, it looks a little bit like the color is getting reflected, which is not you can go overboard with this and create vague detail like this. Which is, see, we're talking about the illustrative style here. We could do this, and it's a different thing. It works. It's not bad. And we could even go, but we're not gonna do that. However, this is not bad. We could soften a little bit more detail, since if we're gonna do it here and there, that's fine. Enough. Not even this. So, what's one added color, right? It looks nice and neat though, like this. We're gonna make a version of this. Copy V. Now it's on the third frame. And just for the heck of it, we're gonna mess with the rest of the palette, kind of see if we can, what we can do with these grays just for fun. For this is the end of the exercise. But since grays are highly, they're not even gray, huh? They have a little bit of hue. Just pushing these values around will generate a lot of visual interest. And I know a lot of people ask, like, how do you do colors? And I don't know. I just move these sliders around. That's the answer. So you might as well see what it looks like. A bit of green. See, now he's been in the wilderness for a while at this point. Just with changing colors, you're changing the story, right? But I'm gonna keep this key. Even actually, let's go gray. Gray now becomes blue because of the. So no, it's right. Let's keep it a little bit dusty. Perhaps one. No, that's too much. See, that goes on in the other direction. It's cool, but it's a completely different look. So I'm gonna keep it. Perhaps this is too dark though. What's the next? Now it becomes saturated. See, this is the game with limited bits. It's not as easy to find the perfect color, which is fun. So now I want less saturation. See, this is cool. We'll take this. But now the black outline pops very much. So we will give it saturation, as we said before. Find a purple is a great solution most of the time for many reasons. Dark purple, because it kind of a lot of colors can terminate through through the color wheel back there. So it works for the orange and it works for the blue armor. But let's just play with the hue. This is a different take. Wilderness Night. What's his story? Just by changing one color. You know what? Let's go with this one actually. Why not? And then the other thing that I really want to do is, now I want a little bit of color identity on this. Actually, do I? It should be called... This pops too much now because it's mainly on the bucket face. Okay, and then this off-white. I want it to be even more off. A bit toned down. Yeah, now this has a kind of different vibe to it, which is not for everybody. Yeah, why not? But it allows us to shade slightly differently because our jumps are not as heavy. See, there's a few more sculpting opportunities. We don't need to overdo this. We've already solved this, right? For purposes of this video, at least. See, we can more banding. We can. Oh, that's the thing that I wanted to solve on the prior sprite as well. So this is another reason why I recommend messing with the colors in such a study, because you solve things and you have the other one just here, and you can go back and forth and go like, oh, I wanted this pixel here actually because of the way the colors dictate it now that I can do this. Can we do that? That's not actually very interesting as a shape. Perhaps I need to... That's okay. It has that shape here over on this side as well. This could be... See, now we're using a buffer color now to do clusters, and that's where my mind says, stop, you've done enough. Perhaps. No, we're just doing the cliche now again. It looks kind of interesting here, but I don't think the cost benefit for the singles is, and this is banding. So. Now we can actually do this little speck on the top, and then that means perhaps. Different frowning expression now. Nope. That's fine. So we did that. We played with the colors as well. If you really wanted to get fancy, you could make... Let's do it just for the fun of it, you know? Let's go copy this index here. Copy this index. Where did I... Oh my god, I can't see. Now we have at least an approximation of an in-between shade. There we go. That's too dark still. Oh, it's very high sat. Let's drop the saturation slightly until we find like a middle. That's a middle shade. You could spend some time fixing like the lack of an extra shade here. Let's do it fast just to say we did. See how it looks actually. That's a good reason to do something, just to see how it looks. See, we can now fix things like that we used. We borrowed the shade. We can do this as well. That wouldn't feel the same. Well, okay. And all this stuff is a bit deep for the angle. We can mess with them a little bit. No, this is fine. It's fine. So, but is it worth it? Like, oh, we can also accentuate the barrel chest. Actually, now we did, and that makes me, yeah, I want to push it up one. So, could we even do like, now that we have colors, like a little bit of drapery? Does it still read? You be the judge. Too much detail now. We need a bit of flatness here. Okay, so we did that. This I don't do too much. This. Oh, that's actually. See, I'm going to use that for this one as well. So this is where we ended up. If you want to go further, then I mean, no, we have enough colors for I think everything. Do we want? Is this? That's see. We made a little bit of a blunder. Now the scarf, because this is very cold. I mean, it's not cold. It's perceptually cold. It's just grey. Doesn't read like it belongs to the same. Well, it didn't read that much at this point either. It never did. So we're gonna accept it as is. So that's a sprite. Well, I'm just gonna cycle through. Then we can look at how we spent a couple of hours of our lives. There's a kitty in my lap all the time while I was doing this, and now she's licking her belly. It's a very pleasing sound to end the video on. I don't think you're gonna capture it. I mean, the camera is not gonna capture it, but imagine a peaceful kitty in the pixel artist's lap, lovingly grooming herself with not a care in the world. Bye bye.